so much for joining this morning. This is our current panel, Athletes and Entrepreneurship, A Match Made in Heaven. We're really excited to get into the conversation today with my esteemed co-panelists. We have Leroy Adams, who's gracing us from Spain via Dallas and all the travel in between. He runs a company called Culture Travels. We have Erica Rempel, who runs ER Media. And last but not least, Alex Bailey, who runs Black Outside Inc. So I'm gonna let them talk a little bit more about their companies and how they founded and all of that good stuff. But wanted to briefly say why I kind of had the idea for this panel in the first place, and why it's important to do it during Startup Week. So one, not only are they all San Antonio-based companies, so that's the first thing. The second thing is that we're all athletes, or former athletes, kind of washed up now. But former athletes. You're gonna see, very soon you're gonna see all of our roster headshots, and you'll see how a little bit washed up we are. But there's a huge trend right now of athletes transitioning into entrepreneurship, and how do we continue to kind of bridge those gaps and continue to grow as an industry, because there's so many transferable skills when it comes to entrepreneurship and athletics. The tenacity, the competitiveness, the teamwork, being able to ideate and create from scratch, doing something that you love for people that you love and populations. So really interesting, lots of transfer. We're gonna talk about all of it. I'm projecting my voice, they have mics, so we may not need it because we kind of pulled everyone in. But long story short, to kind of kick things off, each of us have played a sport in college, right? To start, can you share what sport you played and where, and of course when? It's all good. We'll just kind of like go down the lines. Is that my dad? No, you're good. You're good. I was like, oh my gosh, that's my dad, everybody. So he gets a pass. So our humble beginnings, right? Our headshots, for the record. We're gonna leave this up for a while. So my name is Briana DuBose. I'm currently a PhD student at the University of Texas, San Antonio, up the street. I study athletes and entrepreneurship, more specifically how athletes are learning and engaging with entrepreneurship. So what programs are they in? Are they learning from family members that may have had a business? Are they learning from different programs like Geekdom or fellowships and so on and so forth? That's what I'm interested in, along with like the social emotional learning of it. How are you maintaining your wellness as you pursue such a big thing as entrepreneurial venture, whatever it is. I went to Virginia Commonwealth University along with American University, and I played basketball. And so now I'm gonna pass it to Leroy. You can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone, Leroy Adams. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Do I need the mic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Early Wednesday. Hey everyone, so I'm Leroy Adams. Obviously I played in high school. I ended up getting a scholarship to play at Murray University down in West Texas, and that was my first introduction actually to the state of Texas, where I learned that it snowed, and it shocked the hell out of me because I was coming from Miami, which is a completely different culture shock. But I played at Murray University for 2 years. And then I actually took time off, took about a year off when I moved to Houston to finish my degree. And then shortly after I finished my degree in Houston, I ended up, long story, in China, where I eventually ended up playing semi-pro for about a year and a half. So my journey in terms of athletics sort of jumped all over the place, but my love for basketball really just kept coming up and opening up doors for new opportunities. And so played in college at Murray, took some time off, ended up moving to China, played semi-pro there for a bit, and that was it, right? Just
that, yes.
Hi, I'm Erica Rempel. So I played soccer at Clark. So I played over there, and then I went to Belhaven University and played soccer there for 3 years. And then my last year I played tennis. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. And Belhaven, not a lot of people know where that's at. That's in Mississippi. And yeah.
My name is Alex Bailey, and I'm the proud founder of Black Outside Inc., which I'll talk about in a second. I played football at Ohio Wesleyan University, home of the Battling Bishops, 1842. One of the founding members of the Big Ten, actually. And we are not in the Big Ten anymore, trust me. Yeah, I'm excited to share a little bit more about just my journey from Vision 3 to entrepreneurship.
Thank you. Since we're all using mics, I might as well use a mic. Going further, can you all tell us briefly, because we're going to deep dive into this, briefly tell the audience about the current companies that you're leaders of and why you ended up starting them?
Oh, my bad.
Can you hear me? So I am the, people say I'm the founder, the CEO, but the title that I carry is the editorial and media director for Culture Travels Media. We are essentially building a Black Travel Channel Network, think BET of travel. And the reason that I started this company is for several different reasons, but two quick things. When I was in the Peace Corps, I was in Ethiopia, and I was told that I did not walk like a Black American by Ethiopians. A year later, I moved to China, and I had one of my Chinese students lick me from my wrist to my elbow. And then the third one that I rarely mentioned, I think it's for this conversation, it's applicable. I played basketball in China, as you all know, semifinal game, to the championship, and we're down by 5 with like 2 minutes left. And I'm trying to communicate to my teammates like the play we should run. Mind you, my Mandarin wasn't strong. My coach didn't speak any English. So in order to communicate this play set, I had to use Aquafina water bottles to set up X's and O's, like right there on the sideline. And so I take those 3 experiences and I'm like, man, I'm having an incredible experience being Black and traveling. Very layered, good, bad experiences. I think the world should see this, and I think my community should see this so that they can themselves be inspired to travel. So at a very base level, that's why I started this company, and that's why I do what I do. I want to encourage more African Americans to travel and see the world, to see themselves in the world, and to reap the cultural, political, and economic benefits that come along with being a global citizen.
That was really good. That's hard to follow. So I'm founder of ER Medium. So we specialize in photography, videography, content creation. So my mission is just to tell the stories of local nonprofits here in town. And yeah, I've enjoyed it so much. We've been in business for 3 years.
Yeah, as for me, my journey to the outdoors actually started because of football in a unique way. I'll share the abbreviated version, but Division III football, we don't have fancy summer workout programs. They just literally send you 3 pages front and back, and they're like, do these workouts, good luck, right? Be ready for the conditioning test. So in the summer, my first summer, I was living with my grandparents in Ohio, and I loved my grandparents. They were in their 80s at the time. Mansfield, Ohio is a very small town. As an 18-year-old, I was like, I'm going to lose my mind if I stay here all summer, so I got to get away. So I ended up applying for a summer camp position at the summer overnight sports camp, all boys, 7 weeks, right? Imagine being 18. I'm like, yes, this is awesome, right? And they called me and they're like, yeah, we want to coach flag football. Little did I know it was going to be like Lord of the Flies at the camp. I'll share more stories on that later. But on the other side of it, little did I also know that it would totally, profoundly change the way I saw outdoor programming for youth. I was actually an education major. I knew I wanted to teach high school. And so that experience in college, coaching flag football, I ended up leading hikes, overnight canoe trips. It was on a lake in New Hampshire. It totally ignited this passion and connection to nature, which fueled my journey to start Black Outside later.
I love that. Thanks for sharing, everybody. Can you all touch on the transition? Everybody always talks about the transition after college, how it is pretty rough for athletes because essentially, some of us played our sport the equivalent of, what you would need to retire. 20 years, I played 17 years. I was 3 years away from retirement. What was that journey like in terms of going from a college athlete to being an entrepreneur? And how did you learn to be an entrepreneur? Like, what was your learning experience like in that way?
So again, after I graduated and got my degree, I just took some time off. And at this point, I'm in Ethiopia as a Peace Corps volunteer. And Peace Corps really taught me how to be an entrepreneur. I've never considered myself an entrepreneur up until that point, even after my Peace Corps experience and building classrooms and literally building business proposals to work with local construction companies or running sort of an international fundraising campaign to raise money, equipment for these classrooms. I didn't consider myself an entrepreneur. And then it wasn't until I got to China and I'm there, I'm having these experiences playing basketball, but then, I have the student lick me and I just see the different experiences that Black expats are having in China. So you know what? I think I could create a company, a brand that creates a platform for expats, not just Black expats, but for all expats to share their cultural heritage with the local Chinese community. And that was the first time I really considered myself to be an entrepreneur. Like, I accepted the title of entrepreneurship because I was doing everything that an entrepreneur does. And so the transition was actually me taking a break and being able to tap into other interests that I didn't really know that I had. And once I did that, I said, I really love this entrepreneurship thing, right? It felt kind of easy in China, and you get back to the States, it's like, oh shit, it's a different game. Gotta adjust a bit. But it took me taking a break from the sport to identify other passions and interests, and then also recognizing that there were problems in these places that I lived that I could solve. And because of the Peace Corps, I had the entrepreneurial skills to apply to those problems and, begin my journey of entrepreneurship.
I would say mine's a little bit not traditional. So my mom actually got diagnosed with ALS while I was in college. Sorry to get personal. So I graduated a semester early actually. So I did like more work study and more classes and more credits. Just doing sports, like I felt like that was a path into the entrepreneurship that you have to keep going and going and going. And then I was her caretaker and then actually got my first job at a finance firm. They found me on LinkedIn. I didn't even apply. I always had my resume up to date. And then from there, I went to a marketing firm. And then from there, I started my business. And I saved up, paid off maybe 23 grand of my student loan. So did that, saved up, and started my business. And moving forward since.
Yeah, I think a lot of football players can relate. There's usually a moment in football where you're like, what the hell am I doing? This is a dangerous sport. And that literally happened my last game. My last game, I witnessed my first really, really nasty concussion. They almost had to bring the ambulance on the field, that whole thing. Thankfully, the junior, Nick is his name, he was all right. He ended up playing. He was fine. But it literally was a moment, all the seniors are on the sideline, we're playing Division III football, we're looking at one of our teammates laying on the ground, and we're like, was this a good idea to play football for 4 more years, right? And so I would bring that up to say, right after college, right after I graduated, I was like, I don't even want to watch football, I don't want to see a football. I ended up doing Teach for America, that's what brought me to Texas, and teaching in the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas. And it was funny because when they found out I played college football, they're like, please, coach, help us. And I was like, I'm good. I'm just going to teach. I don't want to think about it. I'll just watch our Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday. That's it. I don't want to watch film anymore. So I should have to say I kind of took a step back from sports, kind of similar to Leroy, and really just focus on what is it that I want? Who am I? What is my identity outside of being a student athlete? And I will say one of the things that really came up again that kept coming up for me was this joy. It's yes, I got to coach flag football, but it was the joy of being outdoors with kids. And I always yearned for that while I was in the classroom.
I love that. Everybody's story is so inspiring. But, what I heard from each of you was that in some way, shape, form, or fashion, sports kind of continues to pour over into the work that you all are doing today. And going into the next question, what skills and mindset have you developed through sport to kind of help you translate into running a successful business? Because it seems like it's not only within you, but it's what you do. So how is what you've learned from playing your sport translate into running a successful business? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I'll say two things really come to mind. The competitive nature of sports, I really try to apply that to entrepreneurship, right? Looking at my competitors, seeing what they're doing, studying film, right? Studying their playbook. What are they doing? Why does it work? Why doesn't it work? Where are the gaps that I can sort of penetrate, and boom, that's my business opportunity. And so really taking that competitive mindset and applying that to entrepreneurship. I think the other one, and perhaps this one is a bit more tangible, but the time management and plus discipline. And so, I think all entrepreneurs can relate in the sense that some days you wake up and you're trying to pick, what do I do today? What is priority today? And so when I was playing basketball, every day had a job. Monday was conditioning, Tuesday was weightlifting, Wednesday was shooting, Thursday, so on and so on and so on. So I applied that to entrepreneurship. Monday is marketing, Tuesday is product, Wednesday is finance, Thursday is partnership, Friday is culture. So I wake up every day knowing exactly what I need to focus on. I don't lose any time, I don't waste any time, and I don't fall into this space that many entrepreneurs fall into, of like confusion or desperation or just, what the am I doing? Why is this important? So really applying that time management and discipline that I've used in sports, giving every day a theme and a purpose, and I just stick to that plan. And over time, I'll come back in 6 months. Do I need to tweak the plan? Then I'll tweak it. If it's working, if I'm performing effectively, then great. And then I give that to my team as well, because my team also has the same challenge. I give them tasks, they have objectives, but it's like, what should I focus on today? What should I prioritize? Theme your day, and that's what you should focus on that day. So I would say those are the two things: the competitive edge that comes with athletics, and then the time management and the discipline, and really being focused on and zoned in on what I'm doing each day.
I love that. What about you, Erica?
I would say persistence, like showing up as an athlete, you're always like weight training super early in the morning and then doing practice and like after practice. So just being persistent and showing up each day. Like I go to a lot of networking things. So they call me Erica everywhere. That's what my friends call me. Because I try to like go meet a lot of people, and then that's where I've gotten most of my business is referrals, by being persistent, showing up, giving letters, like thank yous, like always showing up every day.
Yeah, I think two things came up for me when I was reflecting on this question. Number one, I'm sure a lot of just in general at most jobs, and also as entrepreneurs can relate. There's a term in football called a Monday morning quarterback, meaning like the person after the game, it's like, you should have done this, and this. I think as an entrepreneur, we get a lot of that where it's like you tell someone about your business, they're like, why aren't you doing these 17 different things? I'm like, okay. So I think as an athlete, you really got to figure out pretty quickly which feedback makes sense and from who, right? When I was an athlete and one of my homies came to the game who's never played football before, and they're telling me, you need to run faster on that route. Okay, yeah, sure, I was just jogging, right? I was doing it for a reason. But it's different when it's an actual coach who has experience coaching these things. And so number one, figuring out which feedback makes sense. Not all feedback is good feedback, honestly, and being able to dig that out. And similarly, I think, especially in football, you find this to be true. When you look at a lot of the more successful coaches in the NFL, they're not former NFL players, right? And so I think in our role as entrepreneurs, I think there's a lot of learning that we can do from other sectors. I learned a lot from the travel industry. Erica and I were just talking about marketing. One big thing, even from sports, even though we run an outdoor page, I learned a lot about posting and marketing, how NFL teams do it, right? And so there's a lot of learning from different sectors you can take. And then the second quick thing I'll share is in sports, especially in football, it was really important, especially on offense, to kind of have a rough idea of what everyone else is doing. You know what I'm saying? Then that kind of dictates how you play the sport. So I think in a similar way as you're leading a business, leading teams, it's yes, I'm not like an accounting major, but I do need to at least know how QuickBooks runs,
Yeah.
you know? And so then I can then be able to coach and support the person that's leading our bookkeeping.
All of you all touched on different things around networking, around feedback, around taking in kind of what the market will bear. And all of you all have been part of some really interesting programs to be able to grow your entrepreneurial prowess and your skill set and just your overall social capital and being able to be in the room and be in the mix with people. Can you all touch on that a little bit and how you kind of justified or applied, why you applied to certain programs and things like that for your business?
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. And so for me, I knew what I wanted to build. I knew I wanted to build a media company. I knew I wanted that media company to center Black voices, and then I knew I wanted to center Black voices integrating travel. So I knew that was clear. The how was the struggle, right? I needed to test my idea. I needed to put it up against other folks who would say, nah, this shit don't work. This is a horrible idea. There's no market for this. And it helped, and which is one of the reasons I applied. I went through all of the geekdom programs, from the pre-accelerator, the accelerator, every single one I went through. And it was in those programs that I eventually had to rebrand the company. It was initially we were called the Buddy Pass, because apparently that's how most African Americans started traveling. They used the Buddy Pass from one of their family members that worked with an airline. And I thought that would be a cool name. And I'm in a geekdom program, and one of the mentors comes up and say, oh, that is a cool name. Is it trademarked? And I said, fuck. So I looked it up, and it was trademarked. It was trademarked by another African American entrepreneur who was trying to do the same thing that I was doing. And for about 2 minutes, I was sad, because that name was so intentional for me. It was the name I chose when I was still living in China building this brand. But it forced me to go back and study the market and study my target audience and figure out exactly what I wanted to do and why. And that's what led me to rebranding it to Culture Travels. And I'm sure we'll get deep into why, I decided to do that. But because of going through these different programs, they challenged my ideas, they challenged my assumptions. They helped me sort of create the path to building this brand. And that's why I signed up to all of these, go through these programs. Some of them I've gone through twice. To Alex, what you mentioned in terms of learning about accounting, learning about, building a team, marketing, all of these things that I just wanted to be better at or just learn. And I knew that these programs, like the ones that we have here at Geekdom, would be a perfect opportunity to do that. And so that was essentially why I decided to join these programs.
One thing about me is I love to learn, I love to improve and everything. So I've done almost a lot of the programs here in San Antonio. There's a lot of different ones. I'm creating a PDF and I'm putting it out next month of all of the different programs, because I didn't know what there was until word of mouth. I'll do one program and then someone refers another program. So my first one was NAWA with National Women Association of Women Business Owners. So I did their startup program with Bank of America. I did the Prospectus Banking series. Maestro Center had an entrepreneur one. There's one with the Mexican consulate for Mujeres Emprendedoras. That one's in Spanish. There's so many different ones, and I had no idea about it just by what people told me. So I've enjoyed doing all the different programs and learning. And then I do a small networking list once a month. So I'll just put out different networking events that there are, because I feel there's a lot and it gets super overwhelming. So it's you go to one, and if you don't like it, don't go again, try something new. So I always say try something new and put yourself out there.
Yeah, you want to talk about a post-college existential crisis was, a year after college, I'm sitting there staring at 35, 14-year-old ninth graders who don't want to learn anything about geography, and I have no idea what the hell I'm doing, right? And so I would bring it up to say it really helped me as a student athlete. One of the programs I learned the most from was just right after college doing Teach for America. As some of y'all may have colleagues, friends, family members, they will all probably tell you teaching will humble you very quickly, right? In terms of teaching youth. But it really taught me a lot of the entrepreneurial skills that I use today. I taught in a small town of 10,000 people. It was the third most impoverished county in the country there on the border. We didn't have that many resources. Every year we were tasked with trying to figure out a way to take the top 10% of kids to Boston to visit colleges, because many of the kids don't have access to tier 1 schools in South Texas. And so with that, like, I was like, how am I going to fundraise $20,000 in a county like this? And we just had to figure it out, right? Working alongside community partners, leaders, family members, other businesses really, really helped me. But fast forward today after launch of Black Outside, I've really been honored. I think for me, it's kind of similar to being at a small campus. I'm sure you can equate. You're forced to kind of learn about a lot of different things and meet new people. You can't just stay in a bubble at a campus of like 1,800 people. And so one of the big things that I've been really charging myself with is putting myself in spaces that are kind of outside of my sector. One of the biggest learning opportunities I've had is actually being a part of this like venture capital cohort. They gave us like kind of like, let's be real, like roll off funding. They're kind of like, okay, let's write off our taxes from all this venture capital money we're making, right? And so I got into this cohort and I'm literally sitting in a room with a bunch of biotech people that are talking about, they're like, yeah, I've got like a $5 million raise I got to do in the next 5 weeks. I'm like, man, I'm just trying to get this $50,000 grant, right? But I was learning so much. So I think one of the big things is putting yourself very much in like different situations that may feel a little bit uncomfortable or out of your comfort zone have been super helpful for me, and that definitely translates back to sports of just sometimes on scout teams playing different positions. You're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I had me playing quarterback one time. I can't throw, right? But it taught me a lot about how to see the field in a different way.
Yeah. Ooh, we're getting into it now. But thank you all for sharing, because I feel like everyone has this misconception, or a lot of people have the misconception around entrepreneurship that it's fun, it's sexy, it's glamorous, it's easy. It's not. You have to learn so much constantly, and sometimes, either way you're gonna have to learn, but sometimes it's more fun to learn as a group. It's like, what are you struggling with? You ask a cohort mate, you ask another small business, you ask your advisor. Sometimes these programs give you specific advising to be able to navigate the X's and O's of all the things you may encounter. And speaking of things that you may encounter, let's talk challenges a little bit. What are some of the biggest challenges you face when starting your company and maintaining your company? And how does your sports background help you overcome these challenges in entrepreneurship? Anybody can start, or Lee, where do you go?
I think
you always hear that one of the challenges is like funding. We're not going to get the money, right? And that's just sort of default answer. I think for me, and I think it helped going through, this is one of the reasons why it helped going through the Deep program. One of the challenges I didn't even realize that I had was, am I building a small business or am I building a startup? And it was very painful to learn that going through the Geekdom program, because the Geekdom programs are structured around startups. And so I'm in this space, and they're like, and it was a key moment when I'm doing a pitch, and one of the mentors is like, oh, you want to hire a lot of people? I'm like, yeah, I want to employ people. And you could see the look on his face was like, no, I'm good. Like, in order to build what I'm trying to build, I'm going to need a team. I want to build a team. I don't need a small team. It's going to have a purpose. Every dollar that's spent will have a purpose and an intent, and we'll bring in more revenue. But in VC and private equity, paying for labor is not a thing. So I had to learn, I do not want to build a startup. I'm not trying to do this overnight. I want to do this very carefully. I want to take my time with it. I want to lay out everything and build it over time and sustain it. And that was one of the most important lessons I learned going through the program. And it was a challenge I didn't know I had, because I was trying to build a startup when deep inside, that's not what I wanted. And so the way that I sort of see how sports allowed, or my background in sports allowed me to sort of help me get to that space, it goes back to like, what's the game plan? What is the game plan that I created and I established, and did I stick to it, or did I deviate because the defense made an adjustment? Or because I missed a shot and I'm questioning myself? And so I took that and I said, what was your game plan? Your game plan was to build the essence, a BET, and ebony. Okay, look at those brands. It took Essence 15 years to become profitable. 50 years, 60 years in the making, and they're still having challenges culturally and economically, but they're still here because they took their time over the years to build a brand that meant something and they didn't rush it. And that was my game plan. Those were my North Stars. And along the way, I lost that. But again, going through these programs, being challenged, allowed me to get back to my game plan. And when I realized I could slow down, I think I texted you. I said, damn, I can slow down. I can build this thing in my own time. And it was the best revelation that I've had along this journey.
I just want to say, before we get to Erica, you mentioned two things that I want to share with the audience that you may not even know that you mentioned. One, an athlete, former athlete's willingness to constantly practice and learn and refine skills over time. So we're seeing this play out in the entrepreneurial world. And then second, there's perks to startups. So we're not knocking startups. We're not knocking it during, San Antonio Startup Week. Great. And at the same time, every athlete knows that if you haven't played in a little while and you try to go 100% and jump into it, that's the fastest way to an overuse injury.
Yeah.
Something goes awry.
Yeah.
Whether it's a hip, whether it's your back, something will go out. And so you literally mentioned how you wanted to sustain your company over time and build it brick by brick. And that's something that's encouraging for small business owners to know. It doesn't have to happen overnight. You can build and sustain something over time. And that's a good thing. Erica, what do you got?
The challenge I faced when I started, I feel like most people face this, is finances. Even though my dad, he's an accountant for 3M and my sister's a financial analyst, you'd assume you know how to do it. And I asked my dad, but he's like, I don't know, that's small business, that's different. We're doing medical stuff, accounting. So yeah, it was just figuring it out and asking people for help who've been doing it for so long has helped me figuring it out. It's adapting every athlete. You want to get better and faster, we'll work to get better and faster. You may be exhausted at the end, but figure it out and ask the right people.
Yeah, so for us, for Black Outside, which I guess I'll talk about our mission real quick. Our mission is to reconnect Black and African American youth to the outdoors, right? And we do that through summer camp programming. We take kids backpacking in Colorado. We have a big community event next weekend, homecoming, right? It's super exciting, partnering with the San Antonio Arboretum. So we do local, regional programming. Almost any outdoor activity we've done with youth, but our big vision is that all youth, right, actually have access to the power of the outdoors and nature, and we hope to do that with kids that look like me. So one of the challenges here is when people Google us, they're like, you're in San Antonio, right? And if you go on our website, it's funny, we have these very scenic mountains in the background because our kids are running in the hills in Colorado. So we got emails where they're like, oh, so you're in Denver, right? Or you're in Seattle. I'm like, no, we're in San Antonio, right? And we're proud to be from this city, right? We love this city, and we realize, to be real, Denver, Bay Area, Seattle, they have an abundance of outdoor programs for kids, right? But here in San Antonio, it's actually a huge need, right? And so the issue here in San Antonio and the challenge that we have, and kind of equates back to sports, is it's not necessarily an issue of there's no outdoor places. We have more city parks than Austin does, right? It's a matter of, talk about funding, right? I've always said outdoors as their lack of investment in outdoor recreation and programming. So with that challenge, what I've been thinking about is how do I translate this to different people who can understand it in very simple terms. And I'm going to use a really weird example of this and how it equates to sports. My grandmother, was 7 years old. She used to attend my football games in college. She had no idea what the hell was going on. Right? She did it. And when we would lose games, we would always go to Waffle House after. Shout out to Ohio. We'd always go to Waffle House after. I get my All-Star special, right? And she'd always ask me, she's like, baby, so what happened today? And I was like, how do I explain to her that the coach has no idea what he's doing and we were running a wrong spread offense and all these things? And I'll literally have to break it down for her in different terms and kind of equate it almost into church terms for her. I'm like, when the pastor doesn't preach a message right and it doesn't really land with the deacons, so then they don't feel inspired to take on the meeting minutes. it was kind of like that. It's like, oh, okay, I kind of get it, you know? So I think in a similar way for a lot of funders, supporters, for some folks who are new to the work, they're like, what do you mean you're taking kids outdoors? What does that have to do with academic outcomes? And there's a direct correlation. Kids spending more time outdoors actually translates to higher academic outcomes. So I've really learned that sometimes it's a language thing in translating that in order to talk about the impact of what's happening.
Thanks, Alex. So these last two questions, I need one strategy. So I know everybody can get a little chatty. So the second to last question is, how do you maintain your wellness while running a company? We know that we're all athletes up here doing really cool things, being entrepreneurs. You know how to take care of your body. But how are you maintaining your wellness overall? So mental, physical, emotional, while you're trying to grow this your baby, essentially. You're trying to grow this entrepreneurial venture.
I'm sorry. Oh, you go. Coach.
Well, two things come to mind. One has been a practice that I've had for the last 10, 15 years of my life, and I really try to maintain it. That's meditation. One of the things that I did before I really dove nose deep into entrepreneurship is I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat. Really get myself back centered. And so the meditation keeps me focused, mentally tough. Anyone who's ever meditated, you're very well familiar with the benefits of that. The second piece is, and this has become recent over the last year and a half, I've surrounded myself with Black men who are successful, yet also struggling in their personal life, and perhaps even career as well, with dealing with isolation and depression. Most of them work in private equity, venture capital. These are higher level achieving Black men in corporate America. And I'm basically a journalist for their network. So I follow them around the world and I document their growth. And the inspiration and the energy that I gain from being around these men, watching Black men who are incredibly successful lean into that, but also share the personal struggles that they have in both their life and their career, has really given me a blueprint of, oh, you're fine. You're gonna be okay. This is how they're navigating it. This is how you'll navigate it. At every event, when I talk to them, when I interview one of them, one of the questions I always ask them is, how do you be a successful business person, entrepreneur, while also being a good husband? Because I just got married about 5 months ago, and I'm like, thank you. And I'm like, and my wife, to her point, is very gracious. Like, I travel a lot, obviously. She was with me in Dallas, last time we just got back this morning. I said, you want to come to the event? She's like, no, hell no. I'm going to go sleep. You go do your thing. So I'm trying to learn what that looks like and be good in both places. And so being around these men just gives me so much inspiration and confidence, and just a blueprint and a map, if you will, on how to be successful in both areas of my life. And so the meditation and being very intentional about it, and I'm unapologetic about it. I surround myself by Black men, with Black men, unapologetically, because they understand it at a deep level, at a human level, what I, as a Black man, am experiencing right now. So they have the language and they have the cultural experience to help me pave my own way.
For me, as a woman, I love massages. So I try to get a massage like once a month. I think that also goes back to being an athlete, like when or at least they did the wrench and all the stuff. So it's like, if your body feels good, you feel good, is what I bring it back to. But also just like doing like solo travel, like getting uncomfortable. Like I went to New York like 2 weekends ago, and then Arizona for a sales conference to learn and stuff. And I just went solo. Like the Ubers would be like, you're solo? And I'm like, yeah. The people, you're solo? I'm like, yeah. But like you get to meet people more that way, because if you go into a networking thing or something with a friend, you're most likely to stay with them. So when you're outside like by yourself, maybe it's uncomfortable. I always say it's uncomfortable a little bit at the beginning, but then you get to meet people and then they become your friends, and it's just more relaxing. So solo trips.
One of the best quotes I heard from another cohort, I'm in Echo and Green, international cohort for founders and social impact leaders, is healthy people lead healthy organizations. And I think health, like, in a very, like, comprehensive way. I think, I forgot the dude's name that, like, yells at founders. He's like, if you don't have a six-pack, you shouldn't be leading a business. I'm like, okay, that's intense, right? Like, right? But I think, like, health holistically, like, mental, physical, like, communal health, like, what's your relationship to self, like, and so one of the big things for me is thinking about wellness is cultivating that time for, first off, myself, to check in, when am I getting burnt out, having, like, practicing meditation, and also doing, like, self-check-in. You know, I actively see a therapist. I think a lot of founders should, right? Just so you're not venting to your partner about all your problems, you can vent to this person that you're paying X amount of dollars for per hour, right? But the other thing is, like, thinking about healthy people leading healthy organizations, then healthy adults, especially for youth programs, can help cultivate health and wellness practices for youth, right? So for me, I'm very big on, like, I'll write into some grants that, hey, can we earmark $2,000? Like, I want to take my team on a quick wellness retreat. In August, my team we went out to Maryland. We were on the Eastern Shore. We were exploring the Underground Railroad and Harriet Tubman and her connection. We did reflection activities there. And it was just a time I was like, put your out of office up. We're just going to spend time here looking at birds, just like Harriet Tubman did 150 years ago, right? And those practices are super, super important. And so I think that, you know, for me, healthy people lead healthy organizations, healthy adults can cultivate health and wellness for youth.
I love that. I'm about to check the time. Ooh. Okay. Super quick. Lightning. Okay. Last question. What advice would you offer to athletes who want to be entrepreneurs and scale their own company in like 30 seconds or less?
I don't know, you go first.
Whoa, easy now, coach. Easy. You just handed me the ball. I was not ready. I was not ready. Leroy, do you have an answer? All right, go.
Yeah.
All right, go. Yeah.
Leroy's been on it.
Yeah.
I would say, one, do it. Just do it. If you're an athlete who's transitioning into entrepreneur, this is a great time. There are so many resources available. There are so many communities that offer that sort of space specifically for athletes. And that's the last thing, community. There are a lot of athletes out there who are either already transitioning into entrepreneurship or just looking for other people who are transitioning into entrepreneurship. And I know folks say, well, community, that doesn't equate to money or resources. It does. It does, eventually. Relationships translate to money, they translate to resources, they translate to opportunities. So find that community, lean into it, and everything else will fall into place. It has happened for me, it still happens to me today.
I would say the same. Just start, because it's like, you could always say, I hear all my friends who are in corporate, like, oh, I'll do it later. And then my friend, even she works at USAA, and then she finally just said she's starting her small business, and I'm so proud. So it's like, if they can do it, like, she can leave her, like, incredible job to start a business, like, you could do it too. So just, like, start, I would say, for sure.
I'll be quick. Matt Rule, he's the head coach of Nebraska football at the school. He's asked a very similar question he's like, how does football impact life? He's like, the best lessons that football is going to give you is you are going to get your ass kicked and like you are going to get knocked to the ground. You just got to find a way to get back up. I literally keep a folder of all the times Foundation tell us no. And I'm like, I'm going to ask again. I'm going to keep asking again. I'm going to be unapologetic. And there's been many times Foundation like, here they come again. I'm like, yep, absolutely, right? And so I think that resiliency piece that student athletes like really learn, especially when you're part of a losing program, right? To like get back up and like do it again. Come back, listen, we were not the best. Like do it again is really, really important. That's why I think student athletes really can be some of the greatest entrepreneurs.
I love that. Erica, Alex, Leroy, thank you.
Thank you.
And here's how you can find everyone. You can scan that. It will take you to a page. All of our contact information's up there. And we'll let the next round of people get ready. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Briana. That's nice.
We need to get a photo.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do it.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, thank you.
Oof.
We're doing the photo. Briana, give me a quick picture.
Yes, yes.
And then all I get is
We about to have
hey!
sleep.